Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's random album pick, which is going to be hosted by Brett. So take it away.
Okay, let me know when you can see the screen.
Yeah, can see it.
Okay, here we go. 3 random albums. Okie dokie. So we've got Linkin Park, so the album Hybrid Theory. Britney Spears with the album Britney. And NWA, Straight Outta Compton. Oh, okay, big albums there it seems. I'm just going to rule out straight away. I'm going to take away Straight Outta Compton. We'll put it out straight away. So it's going to be between Linkin Park and Britney Spears. Two very different artists. The Britney one, I'm not sure which album that potentially is. I don't think that's her first one. She looks a bit older, but it'll be weird. I can't imagine when her later albums will be called Britney. I do like a bit of Linkin Park, but you know what? I feel we haven't had a bit of sort of cheesy pop. I don't even know if this sort of Britney Spears will be. I'm gonna probably appease you here, Lee, and I think we'll go for a bit of Britney Spears for her album Britney.
Yes. Thank you.
You owe me one. So next time when something comes up for me.
No, I am exaggerating. To be honest. Okay, I don't know what NWA is. Do you know what it is?
Yeah, they're like pretty traditional sort of American rap bands.
Yeah, I mean, the fact it says explicit suggests it's going to be something like that. But Linkin Park, I don't know too much about Linkin Park, but I know I like one of their songs with Jay-Z. It's kind of quite intrigued by Linkin Park in a way.
Yeah.
Although it's probably one of those that intrigued by it, but in reality probably wouldn't actually like it very much. But I don't know. Britney Spears, again, like you said there, I don't know what that album is. I don't recognize it. She does look a bit older, but you would expect an album that was titled Britney probably to be one of the earlier albums, just based on the name.
Yeah, that's what's so weird. Yeah,
I really don't know with that one because I like Britney Spears, but only her early stuff. Once she sort of changed and was not really so keen on it. So I may not like this album. It depends on when it's from, but we'll have a look now. So we'll just pause the Zoom call and we'll have a look and we'll let everyone know what it is. So I have just had a quick look at the album. As I'm sure you all knew, it is her third album, with some of her kind of big songs on there, I would say. So for me personally, yeah, kind of quite happy with this. It's quite a sort of safe bet. Probably would have preferred one of her even earlier albums, one of the first 2 albums, to be honest. It's probably when she was at her best for me. Brett, what do you think?
Yeah, a bit like you. I think I probably do prefer her earlier stuff in a cheesy kind of way, but not take away some of her newer stuff as well. I just think there's more to like of her early stuff. When new stuff, I think it's just like the odd couple of good songs I generally quite enjoy.
Yeah, but can I just say, this is not her new stuff by any means at all. This is still from was it 2000?
No, yeah. And what I was going to get to, I think at this age, this is probably could be partly there's songs on there which I do know and I do really quite like. So it'd be interesting what else we could find on the album. And I was just going to also say, when you were talking about Linkin Park as well, I said a couple of songs of theirs that I do know, probably more than that actually, that I really do like. I just don't know. I think it could be more, the rest of the album, maybe a bit more hit and miss. It may have been, we'll never know unless it comes back up again or someone suggests it. So we'll see what Britney has to offer.
Yeah. Okay. So there we go. Well, you'll see our album review in a few seconds. I still can't get used to doing this, guys. It's strange. We used to do our things on the Wednesday and then the album review on a Sunday. Now it's all combined into one. So I got to remember that when I start the introduction for the next for the album review, when we actually film it, I've got to make sure I don't say, "Oh, hello guys, how are you doing?" because you're already going to be watching, if that makes sense. But anyway, I think you get what I mean. If you don't, oh well. So yeah, hope you enjoy the album review. Goodbye. So Brett, you made the decision to go with this. So do you want to tell us what you thought?
Yeah, I'll go straight into it. It was quite nice to have a sort of real sort of poppy sort of album. I said I knew a few songs on it, but I didn't realize how nostalgic it would actually end up feeling as well. And what I mean by that, like, this felt like a really late 90s, early noughties pop song. It felt very Britney. And I know this is an album where it was sort of her transitional change, where she wants to be less like a teeny pop princess and be more taken, I don't want to say the word seriously, but you know, it was a change for her, wasn't it, in this sense. I know we'll go through the songs, but I think we're obviously okay to talk about other songs of Britney to help give an idea. So, like I said, we said before, I enjoyed quite a lot of her sort of earlier stuff. So, two of my other favourite songs of hers were Sometimes and Lucky. And then one of my overall favourite songs of Britney at the time had always been Overprotected, which was on this album. And the reason I'm saying that is because I actually found there were actually a couple of other songs which I also enjoyed just as much as Overprotected, which makes me believe and understand that actually I really quite enjoyed this album. Thinking that, you know, Overprotected would be the standout song, and I didn't think anything would come close to that. But there were a couple that did pique my interest, and even a couple of songs which I knew and I didn't like as much, I actually seemed to enjoy now, which I thought maybe actually listening back, I think, or actually I probably hate these songs even more now, but a couple of them actually I appreciated a little bit more. So yeah, that's general overall vibe and sort of summary I'd say on the album, really.
Yeah, so when I think initially looked on Wikipedia to read about the album very briefly, I think it did say, didn't it? It was something about this is kind of her transitional period as he's trying to, as you said earlier, kind of get away from the kind of teen pop stuff to be taken, yeah, kind of more seriously. So I kind of had that in mind when listening to the album, and kind of at the beginning, it did kind of feel like that was happening, like she was getting away from her kind of teen boppy stuff, so kind of more something different. But then I think as the album went on, as you said, the wording I had here, it kind of felt quite dated. It was the wording I had used. So basically, yeah, sort of very late 90s, early noughties, just felt outdated. And in general, although it may have been in her kind of transitional period, it still to me felt more like traditional Britney, but with certain songs and certain parts of some of the songs trying to change, almost sort of become more cool, if that makes sense. I would say that for me, it was personally a disappointing album overall in terms of songs that I liked. There was one song that I liked, but that I already knew I liked that song. It's a well-known song that I'm putting onto my playlist. I don't know. I just think probably compared to her first two albums, especially her first album, where you mentioned there you like Sometimes, that was on the first album. Lucky's on the second album. I also really like Lucky. Yeah, I just felt there was something lacking with this album. I didn't maybe quite get where she was going with it. On the whole, yeah, it was sort of still quite teen boppy with that little hint of trying to take it somewhere else, perhaps. But for me, just lacking in sort of real decent songs, apart from the one song which we'll talk about shortly. Okay, so if we go through the songs, just to let you know, we did listen to the, what was the version of it? There's all different versions of the album. It was like UK.
I think the one we did, it was the European version, which kind of said it had 3 additional tracks, but one of those tracks were already on the album, so technically it was 2 additional
tracks, basically.
Tracks, yeah. But yeah, I believe it's the European version.
Okay, so first song was "I'm a Slave for You." So this is a well-known song. I've found it a little catchy, but to be quite honest, it was just trashy pop trying to be something that's not a good song. This is an example of Britney trying to get away from her traditional kind of, teen boppy stuff to kind of probably be taken more seriously, if that's the right word. But to me, it just didn't work. Like I say, it is a well-known song. It probably did well in the charts, but I've never liked it, and I still don't like it.
Yeah, and it's hard because I think we say I don't know what that right word is, but I believe we're saying sort of the right thing. Like, her trying to be more mature, trying to do something different. I don't know what it is, and it has some mixture there. So very much like you, I actually never really was a fan of this song, but actually listened to it. I did appreciate it a little bit more and took it for more what it was really. But yeah, it was okay, but still not an overall favourite of mine. I'd say that it was weird. It's quite unusual to have this as sort of like the very first song on this album. Again, can't criticise the album for that reason. It just seemed a bit unusual. I mean, to be fair, the first 2 tracks as the first 2 tracks, just found that a bit unusual. I said it's weird 'cause we've never had an album where we've known the song be such a big main song and it being the first track as well.
Yeah, I mean, just one thing I would add. I kind of thought the album would kind of be all like this kind of thing. I say that there's a song on there that I knew was nothing like that, which we'll talk about. But in general, I kind of thought that was kind of the style of the album, but I don't think it was.
No,
but the second song,
right.
Second song, "Overprotected." So this, I know you mentioned this song earlier when you were talking about what you thought of the album. So I didn't recognize this from the name. But then when I started listening to it, I then realized it was a well-known song. This felt much more like her original stuff, a much better song, and just Britney doing what she does best. I've classed it as an above-average song. Probably not enough for me to want to download it, put it on my playlist, but it's a decent song, I would say. This one. And it's nice to hear it again because it's been so many years since I've heard it. It's a song that I don't know that well. Like I can't even imagine the tune in my head or any of the words. But if I start listening to it, then I'd kind of start to again. It would all come back to me, I guess.
Yeah. So like I said a little thing before. Obviously, a song I knew. At the time, I would have put it as my favourite Britney song, and I still would. I really enjoyed this song. And because I was so familiar with it already, I did a bit of extra research and it was quite interesting. So, especially when you said, this felt like classic traditional Britney, could have been almost some of her earlier stuff in some regards, not to the same level, but quite similar. So, the writer of this song, I actually didn't write his name down, but it's a guy from Sweden. And he is very well known in writing pop songs for massive artists. He's known for having probably some of the most I think he's had about 14 number 1 songs he's written for pop artists and pop groups. And a couple of those were Stronger by Britney Spears was one of the other ones, which also a song of hers I really like. But the one I wrote down here just for you, Lee, he also wrote the Backstreet Boys' "I Want It That Way." So a really good, and like I said, he wrote a lot of some of Britney's early stuff as well. I think he's done another one on this album potentially, but yeah, you can definitely tell where they've got sort of the big guns to try and help out with some of these songs, and they really make a big difference on the album.
Okay. So the next song was Lonely. For me, this was a poor song with an upbeat but rather unimpressive chorus. It had some interesting parts in the second half of the song. I thought it did improve a little bit as the song went on, but I just didn't like this one, to be honest.
Yeah, very sort of electro poppy. I feel here sort of very early noughties. Definitely not one of the best ones on the album. Classic sort of Britney voice appearing on there as well. It's okay, but yeah, definitely not one of the better ones on there.
Okay. Then we had I'm Not a Girl, Not Yet a Woman. So this is obviously a well-known song of hers. One of her, for me, one of her better songs, like overall in terms of all Britney Spears songs. Not one of her very best songs, but one of her better songs. Probably makes my top 10 of Britney Spears songs. It's a nice kind of Britney ballad, and I've kind of questioned it. Is it the end of an era? Is this kind of like, do we ever hear anything like this again from Britney on any further albums? I'm not so sure. Before her style kind of changed, and this song is the one that makes my playlist. So I do like this song. It's a good classic Britney song for me.
Yeah, it definitely got some sort of extra meaning with it, having to do with the title and stuff. I know obviously it was from the movie Crossroads, which she appeared in, which also didn't do very well. Like Slave for You, this was actually a song because I actually never really liked that much. I think I thought it was okay, appreciate it. And again, this on here, I still found it a little boring, but I still probably ended up liking it more than I probably originally did. And I think this is the closest thing to old school Britney you're going to get. And I think there's a really good, interesting point you made about after this album and after this song on this album, do you actually ever get to hear Britney do this sort of stuff again? And from the little I know, I don't think so, but there might be on other albums that might do. And just an interesting note as well, Dido actually wrote quite a bit of this song for Britney as well.
Okay. Next song we had was Boys. So this was what I would class as her kind of new style, or it's going in that direction. And I just thought this song was absolutely rubbish from the start. It just doesn't suit her, and a huge contrast from the previous song, which was obviously a slow ballad. So a real contrast going on in every way possible, and this side of Britney just doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, this is sort of what probably most people know of Britney as well. And like you, wasn't a fan of the song, still wasn't after listening to it. Again, when I think of it less as a pop song, more as an R&B song, then it seems a bit better, but I'm still not a massive fan. And again, looking into it, and it turns out a guy called Pharrell, who we know quite well, also wrote this song. So you can definitely tell the difference with people who used to write songs for Britney, our Swedish friend who did Overprotected, and now these different artists and other people who are helping write these songs for this sort of different change of Britney. And like I said, I think for us, it's just not our particular favourites, it seems. I was going to say with that one as well, I think imagine it need more Pharrell song and then Britney being a featured artist potentially on it rather than being Britney's song.
Sorry, isn't Farrell a friend of yours?
I do have a friend called Farrell. Yeah, this is this is Pharrell. Yeah.
Someone different. Okay. Okay.
They're very different in lots of ways.
The next song was Anticipating. So this sounded more like an original, sort of typical cheesy Britney song. This was more like it. The only thing was, it sounded like a kind of kid was singing. I know Britney would have been young at the time, but it sounded even younger than that. I assume it was Britney singing, but I don't know. It just sounded like a really sort of young kid. I didn't think it was a great song, but at least it was the Britney that we know and love.
Yeah, this is almost like old Britney sort of fighting through this one. I put here, yeah, very sort of could be like 80s, 90s pop, pop bands kind of feel to it. Yeah, seeing more also Britney, not great. It was again nice to listen to. I can't really put much more on that really.
Okay. So the next one was I Love Rock and Roll. So we have to obviously say straight away, this is not the original. There's been a few cover versions done of it, but I was just thinking, like, when I think back to this song, do I actually know any of the other versions of it? Like, do I know the original, any of the other covers, or is this the only version of the song I know? I'm not sure because I haven't checked out the other versions of it, but from what I can remember, I think this is the song that this is the version of it that I've always kind of grown up with, shall we say. So, yeah, I'm not sure what the other versions are like. But just judging it on this alone, I'd say it's not a bad song. I'm not overly keen on it, but it has got a good chorus, quite a sort of good, catchy kind of up and at you chorus that I quite like. So it's all right.
Yeah, it's a tough one, this one. So I don't like this cover. I've never liked Britney's version of it. I can't say I've been a massive fan of the original either. And I think what I don't also like is, for me with this, and it's very difficult, we haven't really talked about, covers of songs and stuff. But I think for me, like, this feels too much like trying to be like the original one with just Britney singing it. Now, I'm not saying that all covers should, be totally different, or for me, I just feel it's just trying to be too similar to the original. You either, and it's, what you think then, what's sort of the point in that sense? So as I said, I've always had a negative thing with the song. Listening again, yeah, still doesn't really do it for me in any way. And it's interesting because for Britney's, career as long as she's had, really, I didn't do much research, but I couldn't find anything of many other songs that where she's actually done covers for. The only one I can remember thing was My Prerogative. But otherwise, she hasn't done many covers, which I found actually probably more interesting than the song itself, really.
Okay. Then we had Cinderella. So again, this was a real sort of Britney type song, sort of the original style. There was a kind of speaking bit in the middle. I thought it was an okay pop song. And again, Britney doing what she does best. I do like the fact it was that kind of traditional Britney style. But as for the actual song itself, I didn't really enjoy it. I mean, it might grow on me if I listen to it a few more times, but it was all right.
Yeah, so I've written first bit, yeah, very Britney, so Britney. Again, very sort of Europop feel to it. I actually quite like this one. I thought this was almost could be one of my favourite songs on the album, really. Again, it just had what you were saying, a very dated feel, but for me, had a very nostalgia feel to it. Just felt very much of the time there, and I actually, like I said, because I make it clear, obviously this is a style of Britney that I generally prefer, really. So yeah, I rated this one.
Okay. Then we had Let Me Be. So yeah, interesting one. This I thought this was kind of quite Britney, typical Britney, the traditional Britney, with a tiny hint of her new style. Little elements of the song kind of going away from her kind of teeny boppy stuff. But for me, it was a bit of a nothing song. Nothing really happened, and it was very short. It was less than 3 minutes as well.
Yeah, really quick song. I feel, yeah, very naughty. And I think that sweet sums up where it did feel like, yeah, some of her older stuff and then trying to be this new sort of stuff as well, a mix of the both. Right, it sounded really familiar. Sounded like it could have been other songs of the time as well, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. Again, actually quite like this one. I thought it was a good way to have a mix of both these style of Britneys that we're talking about, really.
Next was Bombastic Love. It was nice and poppy, but it just wasn't a great song, to be honest. I think with this style of music, if it's a song that you kind of end up not really liking. It just kind of feels a bit cheap and tacky, if that makes sense. Like, you know, just kind of like cheesy and a bit rubbish. just in general, just with this particular style of music. And I think this song for me has kind of fallen into that category.
Yeah, it's just for a really nice sort of poppy song. I just didn't find it as good as some of the other ones that I've liked there already. Yeah, again, the interesting thing where I think there's started this point, I think there's quite a few meaning in a lot of her songs, and this was another one. So I saw like one of the comments on there. There's sort of a big debate whether this song was actually about her with a true love or having a one night stand. And maybe we could do a whole video just digressing that really, because I'd be intrigued to really know whether what's the case, because it really does seem to be a 50-50 split where some people really think, yeah, this is definitely about Britney talking about true love, whilst others think it's a one night stand. So if any Britney fans are listening to this, or if Britney's watching herself and wants to let us know, or let me know at least, because I'm intrigued whether what that one's about, I'll happily listen.
Yeah, let him know, please do. you know, so that he can sleep well at night. Next one, That's Where You Take Me. It started off slowly, this one, but then it started to liven up, and he ended up with sort of quite fast singing, that kind of style. And then the second part of the song sort of changed up a little bit for a few moments. So I had a little bit of variety, this song, I thought. So yeah, I like the variety, but again, didn't really take to the song very much.
Yeah, again, I put it quite similar to what's it called? Let Me Be. Has that very sort of early noughties feel to it. Again, it sounded really familiar. Had quite a bit of a nostalgia feel to it. Yeah, had some bits going on. Seemed to really enjoy it. And again, I think I've said about previous one where it almost like it could have gone somewhere, gone really taken somewhere, but it just sort of didn't, and just sort of stayed kind of the same throughout. So it lost marks in my books for that one there. But again, and another sort of typical all right song for this particular album.
When I Found You was next. So I had a totally different kind of start. It was a ballad, so I suppose the closest thing to I'm Not a Girl, Not Yet a Woman on the album. That kind of feel to it. But I just felt it wasn't a very nice ballad. In terms of the background music, didn't really fit with the word, with the lyrics and the song. It almost made it sound quite rough. Whereas I think a ballad needs to sound kind of quite soft and sweet, and like it just didn't. It was like a ballad that it just didn't really, things didn't really fit into place for me with this one.
Yeah, I kind of get you saying that one there. So yeah, definitely a bit different. It was nice to have that sort of ballad type song, even though, like I said, it almost was trying to, almost where it could have been turned to a pop song, but sort of didn't. And yeah, sort of got a bit lost in that sense. Again, I actually quite like it. It was all right. And again, this is my Swedish friend who had written this one, written this song in this album. I've also put a note here. He actually also wrote a couple of Westlife songs and Evergreen by Will Young. Let's throw those ones in there as well.
Maybe we'll review Will Young one day. If you want us to review Will Young, let us know in the comment section in which album of his.
Yeah, I guess I can't put that request, can I?
What's that?
I can't put that request to myself, can I?
I'm afraid you can't. But we won't go into that. Okay, there's ways around it. But next one would be Before the Goodbye. So had a sort of combination of slow and fast parts, a sort of dancey background beat. But again, I'm afraid it's the same kind of thing for me. Not a good song.
Yeah, so again, had a real sort of poppy feel to it. I even put the words here, Eurovision, for this particular song. Had potential. Like, again, definitely wasn't one of the worst ones on the album, but at the same time, not one of the better ones. So doing better, Britney, with that one, but still need a bit of work. Get our Swedish friend back working on that one.
The last song here kind of will help you to understand what I kind of like from Britney and what I don't like. So this song was called What It's Like to Be Me. And as soon as the song started, I realized that I don't like this song and I wasn't going to like it throughout. Because the way I'll describe it, it was Britney's singing style in this particular song, I felt was quite aggressive, almost kind of like hard singing. Whereas the Britney that I like is a kind of soft, sweet kind of style. Whereas maybe in future albums, maybe this is the kind of style that she does take on, that kind of harder, almost aggressive kind of style of singing. So yeah, Britney for me, it does depend on the song, what the style of singing, but this is definitely not what I like.
Yeah, I get that there. There is something a bit to it. I didn't mind it, but I get what you're saying. You know, when you're thinking, I hope it's going to be Britney. Like I said, again, the main writer in this song I put it together was Justin Timberlake, who obviously she had a very close relationship with, as we know. And again, I think for a lot of these songs, they are good. I think they're all good songs. And again, if Justin Timberlake had done this song, and it'd probably be one of your favourites potentially. Let's say when something comes with Britney, it doesn't quite work in the same way. I think right here, for some reason, it got a Michael Jackson feel to it. It could be like a Michael Jackson song, which I know sort of could be Justin Timberlake style as well. So I think that's where it falls short. Like I said, and it seems like, and I know we both like sort of the Britney. I know we're going away from this particular album. We like the Britney of old. Well, obviously she had these good poppy, well-known writers to do cheesy, safe pop songs. So, and it's no problem, you know, Britney wanted to change things and reinvent herself and so. But then instead these other artists and other writers do something, it's not quite working. I think this is a real mashup of that both styles in this particular album. So again, it would be interesting, you know, to compare it to the Britney stuff that we feel that we know and like from earlier stuff, and then potentially her older stuff to really get there. But I think when people say use this as a traditional transition period, I can totally see it and get that. And obviously had a negative for you on the album. I didn't mind it, but yeah, I think that sort of last song does sort of sum that up in some ways, really.
Okay, so how would you sum up the album as a whole?
It's difficult, like I say, because there's a couple of songs that I do really like. So I've still got one of my favourite Britney songs on there, which will always be on this album. In the nice way, I think it's definitely listenable, definitely enjoyable. If I had to listen to it again, I wouldn't have any problems in doing so. However, knowing that I would want to probably skip a few of the songs that I didn't like. And I think maybe it definitely could be a lot better. I think I probably was maybe expecting, hoping to like it a lot more, but it wasn't bad. It's probably the best overall way I can probably explain how I'm feeling with it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I must say I find it disappointing because, you know, I know that there are quite a few songs from Britney Spears that I do like, and the fact there's only one on here, one and a half that I liked here, but they're already kind of well-known songs. Yeah, just left me feeling a little bit disappointed. I mean, at least the majority of the album, the songs on the album are still that kind of typical Britney that we know and love. She hadn't quite moved over to her newer style on this album, so that was good. But yeah, I just kind of felt a little bit let down just by how disappointing I found the majority of the songs, to be honest. So yeah, disappointing for me overall, but I guess, on the balance of everything, when when we listen to so many different albums, so many different genres, come the end of this series, this album may still be up there somewhere, because some of the other stuff we listen to is quite often totally off the scale, and stuff that we don't like. So on that side of things, it's all right. But considering it's Britney, someone that I know I like, just found it disappointing. So yeah, that's it, guys. So thank you for watching. Thank you for watching through till the end. Remember, if you want us to review any album by any artist, then let us know in the comment section below, and we will happily do that for you. Doesn't have to be Britney Spears, it could be anyone. It could be Christina Aguilera. Just an idea. Whatever. Kylie Minogue. Just get typing and let us know, and we will review for you. So that's all for today. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.